In the election of 1912, the third-party candidate, Theodore Roosevelt, running as the candidate of the Progressive Party, always nicknamed the Bull Moose Party, actually finished second, ahead of the Republican nominee, the President William Howard Taft, who was running for re-election. The split resulted in the election of Woodrow Wilson. Wilson got 6.3 million votes, Roosevelt got 4.1, and Taft got 3.5. And in the electoral vote, Roosevelt won 88 votes, Taft won 8, and Wilson was elected, winning 435. This was the first time and the only time that a third-party candidate has finished ahead of one of the two major parties, the third-party candidate that finished second. The roots of the Bull Moose Progressive Party were deep in Theodore Roosevelt's presidency, where for 2 terms, just short of 2 terms, because he took office a few months into McKinley's term after William McKinley was assassinated. The 8 years of the Roosevelt presidency were marked by tremendously progressive and important reforms. He set up the national park system, the regulation of railroads, the first antitrust legislation, built the Panama Canal, and all kinds of really major stuff. But toward the end of his second term, Roosevelt made a sharp turn to the left and began to attack trusts and the industrial conglomerates and corrupt industry that he said allied with corrupt politics to hurt the nation. And he really became an avowed, strong, anti-big business candidate. J.P. Morgan became his mortal enemy, and he was very effective as president in the closing years in going after big business, Standard Oil, Rockefeller, the whole crowd. He chose William Howard Taft to succeed him, and Taft was initially very compliant and wanted to implement the Roosevelt agenda. But a combination of Roosevelt's personal jealousy that Taft was president and not him, and Roosevelt's increasing leftward tilt made him very unhappy with William Howard Taft. And he went to Africa on a safari, and when he returned, he found Taft totally inadequate. By the way, when he left on the safari, J.P. Morgan delivered a toast and said, "Good health to the lions." But Roosevelt and Taft had a fissure, and Roosevelt challenged Taft's renomination in the Republican Party. And in those days, you had primaries only in a few states. Roosevelt entered them all and won them all, soundly defeating Taft. And it was clear that he was by far the more popular candidate. Taft, however, controlled the party machinery, and at the Republican convention, steamrolled over the Roosevelt forces and forced Taft's renomination. At that point, Roosevelt bolted the Republican convention and set up his own Progressive Party. While he was campaigning for president as the candidate of the Progressive Party in October of 1912, he was shot while he was giving a speech. And as he was speaking, he continued after the shooting, said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you realize what just happened, but I was just shot. But it takes more than a bullet to stop a bull moose." So he then continued the speech for 90 minutes, then went to the hospital and had the wound treated. An incredible performance. And it was inspiring to the voters and really helped animate his candidacy. Roosevelt was always a larger-than-life figure, and this clearly was an example of that. But it wasn't enough to overtake Woodrow Wilson, who won the election. It was a very notable election because 3 of the 4 candidates were on the left. Wilson, who got 6.3 million votes, Taft, Roosevelt, who got 4.1 million votes, and Eugene Victor Debs, the socialist candidate, who got 1 million votes. And the conservative candidate was Taft, and he only got 3.5 million votes, indicating the strong leftward bent of the American voters as we entered World War I. Roosevelt went on to urge aggressively American intervention in World War I. When we did intervene, he wanted to head a brigade and replicate his performance with the Rough Riders in the Spanish-American War, and he was clearly the consensus for the Republican nomination in 1920, after Wilson's second term. but he took a trip to South America and the Amazon jungle in the interim, where he contracted a serious fever that eventually cost him his life and his other chance at the presidency. Thanks for watching.